Thanks, Emily. And I must say, this whole thing has been Emily's work. I've paid the bills, but otherwise it's been Emily doing all the legwork and all the emails and everything. So we will sure be extremely grateful to her for today. Emily keeps calling me the director and the founder of Exile Medics, which is a slightly grand title for what I did. Essentially, it started because I wanted to go away with my mates to do medical stuff around the world. And it went from there to thinking, well, we can do a better job than most of the other firms that are out there doing this sort of work. And it's grown and grown and grown. And now we go all over the place with all sorts of people, and we have events like this. And thanks for coming, because I know next weekend's the student one. The Ex-Med guys are doing the big expo in a month or two. And it's the Basics Conference in Gloucester. So, you know, you've all got lots of other places to be. So I'm grateful that you're here. But, and as ever, we're dependent on the Chinese technology that I purchased through eBay. So, Exile Medics. What do we do? The idea, the only reason we exist, really, is because I think, and we should all think, that we can do a better job providing medical care on expeditions and these ultra races that you see across the desert or through the jungle than anybody else out there. And the reason that we can do that is because we actually think about what we're going to do, we plan it, and we govern it in the same way you would do at hospitals. So our aim is to deliver high quality, which is a bit of a generic term, I know, but the best there is, safe medical care to adventure race expeditions and events anywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where we go, apart from America, which I won't take you guys to because it's dangerous and they'll sue us. So from your point of view, what is the point of it? So the idea is that Exile Medics exists as an organisation. It is a registered company, I'm not going to lie. We don't make any bloody money at all. Okay, that's only so no one else can nick the name. But it exists to give you the opportunity to go from where you are now, which might be a beginner or might be a real old hand at expeditions, all the way up to being a pro at expedition medicine. And there's no trick to it. It's just kind of time served and stuff you've seen, just like our regular practice day to day. So that's why it exists. And we want to be the best there is around the world. And we do get emails from around the world now asking us to do events. So we're getting bigger and more well known. We just have to be the best there is. So going into the establishment of the organisation, and I choose that word carefully, I don't like to say company because it's not really. Before we existed, I think the care that was given to these events and these races was fairly poor quality. It was quite ad hoc. It was never really planned. Certainly, I know Nick Snelling's around. If you ask him about the first one we did together, it was extremely poorly planned. Not by us, I stress much. It was poorly provisioned for, so no one had thought about the equipment that they take, how it's going to work in the environment we go to, and actually how robust it is. There was no such thing as governance. Governance was an evil word, sort of generally back then, but certainly in the wilderness medicine world, and that's something that's really the crux of today, is to the education pillar of governance. I'm sure you remember all the 7 pillars of governance. If not, come and talk to me later. There was no specific training for events. There were the generic kind of wilderness medicine courses that tried to cover an awful lot, and a lot of them are very, very good. But in terms of practical, pragmatic, on the ground, what do you do when this happens? We thought it was probably not quite the right stuff for the sort of work we did in terms of races and managing athletes or managing regular fat punters that want to walk the Great Wall of China, for example. All of that culminated to, I think, seeing a high morbidity for participants on these events. So people were getting unnecessarily injured or ill. It was totally preventable, totally easily treatable on these events. And I thought, we can deal with that. That's easy. That's just a bit of thinking. So we've changed it to high quality care. We plan perfectly in every event all the time, of course. We try and cover for every eventuality. We try and fulfill a complete program of governance. Total training, we try and cover every base, essentially. Both before we go away, whilst we're away, junior people get mentors, we do direct you to good reading, we cover things while we're out there, all sorts of stuff goes on to try and reduce your chance of getting something wrong, and we try and control the morbidity as a result of that. What do we do for you? So why should you even slightly become involved other than getting to hang out in a slightly damp wood? Well, I guarantee if you stick with Exiles, you'll go to places you wouldn't otherwise go. Lots of people go to Peru, but everyone goes to Machu Picchu. They don't go down into the forest the other side, and there's nothing there. Trees, a few people with guns / machetes, and that's it. So you go some really unique places, and you don't see other people when you get there. You get trained on the job, so you're not just going on a course, learning it, practicing on each other, on dummies and stuff. You'll go, you'll learn it a bit, and then you'll just do it for real. There's no halfway house, and you'll do it for real, supervised if needs be, if you need that, but you're straight in there, straight away doing the job. Regardless of your seniority, you are given some clinical responsibility. We're not going to dump an unconscious person on a student paramedic, but you'll still be active in treating that patient, making the clinical decisions in a supervised way in the wilderness, which you don't get anywhere else. Great opportunity to build a network. Facebook group has 1,500 plus people on it. I think some of them are these like Chinese people. There's always Chinese in it that sign on to like 100 groups. So some of them are on there, but there's a good 1,500 people, all of which are on different trips, know different things, work in different parts of the world. So there's always an option to get involved. You'll all have a say in how we work. So all this stuff largely comes out of mine and sometimes Adam's head. Let's do a conference. That's a good idea. But all of you can chip in and come up with these ideas. There's no hierarchy really beyond I have to sign the checks. That's about the only thing that marks me out. And for those of you who are in a competitive training sort of schedule, sort of house office and stuff, doing sort of stuff like this does make you more competitive. Emily sorted out this conference. She's an F2 international conference because Asker turned up and he's from Denmark. That makes it international. Oh, Chris came from Ireland. So that's great. But alongside that, you lead on the trips, you're making decisions under pressure, you're making difficult decisions in a resource-tight environment. All these things just add an extra little bit to your CV or your application and help you move up through the ranks. It certainly helped me. And just being involved in Exile Mates is quite fun, that's all. Because we've got buttloads of beer and stuff later as well. What do you do for us? Right, so you come with us and you contribute your own individuality to an event or to the organisation. Some people are very individual, some people are less individual, but all of you bring something. You work alongside us and bring your own skills and abilities. And I really believe this, we really are setting the standard for remote care with this sort of work. There are people that do the oil rigs, there are people that do the science trips and stuff on, in South Pole and things, but for the sort of work we do, the races, we are the best there is. Whatever anyone says, the Marathon de Sable, all those people, we are better than them, definitely. Our morbidity is much lower. So we set the standard, we deliver safe care, and eventually you will all be stood here teaching the next lot. So you're teaching on international conferences, as long as Asker brings his mates next time. Okay? So a bit about the conference. Emily's touched on this. What's it like to be an Exile medic? How do we work? A bit about the clinical governance and practical skills, how to get involved in wilderness medicine, and any questions you have at any time, ask anybody, even the people sat next to you, and you'll come up with an answer. It's not complicated stuff. Really, the useful bit about this is the networking. So you'll meet other people. They will all of you are here because you're interested in going places around the world. You will all have been interesting places, done interesting things, and a lot of the guys that have been out with us before are around. So talk to them about what it's like, really what it's like, and what it costs, what it's, where do we go and what do we do when we get there? All those sorts of things. So try and network amongst yourselves because that adds something to the whole thing. And the hog roast lady is going to be epic. So if you haven't chosen to stay, fool. So classically, expedition medicine talks are all about holiday photos of the person presenting. So I think I cut them all out apart from a couple. So this was our boat in Brazil. That's our little hospital boat. It was rubbish because the bottom deck was just engine, so you worked around the engine. Evacuating people from the rainforest, as I'm sure what you'll see later in the small group workshop, so I'm sure one of the lectures is hard, so you need a lot of people to carry people. You get to go fun, dramatic places like this, a little branch off the Amazon where there's nobody but crocodiles and a few Indian, or natives we're supposed to say now. There's our ambulance. This guy actually got sent to prison in Chile for fraud, but he was one of the runners and he broke his ankle, which we fixed with duct tape. Not opened him up and fixed, bandaged him up with duct tape. And that's your sort of workstation in the jungle. So on a hammock in the forest with the ants. And there's my own hammock, which is sung quite low because I'm quite heavy. And so it stretches. And grannies with guns, I think, are the funniest pictures. So grannies with shotguns. I don't know what she was trying to shoot, but something. And this is Dr. Johnson's book, The Expedition Wilderness Medicine thing. You can see the size of the beetles that are crawling around in the rainforest. That's an Oxford handbook. And they sort of land on they crash into your hammock. It's like being hit by a pig or something. So, have a listen. We try to keep lectures to a minimum, as is standard practice in education nowadays, but there's some stuff that you just need to hear. Listen, learn, speak, and just get involved in the whole process. And that's the website, which is ever growing. And Rich, the chap by the cameras there, runs the website. If you've got any ideas of things you want to see, tell him. And make sure he writes it down, because he doesn't remember stuff very well. Okay? And we'll put it on there. So it's why you do what you do. It's why you're here. come and join in and get involved in Exile Medics. It's great fun. Right, who's next?